Greetings, listeners, and welcome to TipsyCake, savoury stories with sweet endings. This is Naomi Levine, and I would like to welcome my co-host, Christy Widgery.
Hey, Naomi, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, doll. How are you?
How do you feel about indoor dining?
I am not impressed that the mayor's decided to go ahead and open restaurants and the kids are still at home. The school situation really stressed me out, but I moved to the suburbs, but it's still affecting some of my friends. But why are restaurants such a focus all the time and nothing else, it seems? You said you listen to a lot of blogs, or read a lot of blogs.
I was reading a lot of articles about restaurants reopening my summer, and that argument of I can go to Target but I can't go to a restaurant. From my perspective, the building I work in, the ventilation system is top notch, and so it's a little bit safer. And you want to think that some of these big box stores have better ventilation. So a restaurant, if the building's 20 years old, it's going to have really old HVAC. And they've learned dining open in Cook County. We went out for dinner. And
where did you guys go?
We went to a place in Bridgeview.
You didn't tell me about that.
I'm not going to... Brian posted... We haven't been out for dinner since October.
Whew.
Okay, so we went in. I was feeling good. Staff's wearing masks at the front. Only supposed to be 4 people per party. Yes. I noticed a lot of the tables had 10 and 12.
Oh my God.
And they put up plexiglass between the tables, which I appreciate. But then half the staff was wearing their mask below their nose.
Oh my God.
And it was kind of irritating. And then we were waiting for our table. There was about a half an hour wait. And you could look into the kitchen. And I saw that most of the chefs weren't wearing masks. And that kind of freaked me out a little bit, too.
That doesn't freak me out. Being from the culinary world and when before June, before we closed, if we were COVID-free, which we were at that time, we didn't have masks. We were in the back of house. They are protected from the customer. So even in your office, when Marty goes to work is one day a week, they don't wear masks.
We have to wear a mask
Really?
when we're at our desk.
Gosh, it's just so different. And I'm really shocked that a restaurant in Bridgeport had 10
Not
people...
Bridgeport, Bridgeview. And pre-COVID, I was really big on cleanliness at restaurants. You work with the public. I was a chronic hand washer even before COVID hit.
And you're not alone, Christy. There's so many people like that. And again, back to my Australian listeners who are zero COVID today.
Well, because they managed it better than we did.
But they were less fastidious and Americans are very clean people. It's so interesting. We could go on about it for a while, but we're going to talk about it. What's going on here in Chicago all the time with the culinary and event world, because that's why I close. That's why we have this podcast.
Our guest today was one of my favourites in the event industry. He blows for a living. Balloons, that is. The most amazing balloon animals in this hemisphere and in the southern, according to my Australian family. I would like to welcome Smarty Pants.
In person for a very long time.
I'm really glad you decided to get your costume on. I said to Smarty Pants, I texted him and said, this is audio. And he said, why'd I go and get my suit dry cleaned? And then you were serious.
Naomi told me the story of how you guys met, that you came into her bakery.
Wait, tell this story, because I don't, a lot of times if I know people for a long time, I kind of forget, I just assume we've known each other since, birth or something like that.
Wait, you don't remember what you did? I can't believe you don't remember how you solicited me. You came in with this cake balloon, the cake, the kangaroo, and the Smarty Pants. You came in, you did a cold call.
I want free cupcakes or something, or did I want you to hire me?
No, you were cold calling me, which is something over the years since I've got to know you and your wife isn't something you do. You don't need to cold call, you're too good.
But it worked. Because you had him do your baby shower.
But I don't mind, I like doing random acts of kindness and, just, if I have an idea for something, I just do it. I still do that, obviously not as much as the pandemic, but that's still something that I like to do. If I have an idea of, doing something, then I just do it.
You did it, and you're stuck. And then our relationship started with their wedding, actually. before, because I was pregnant, that him and Dina got married at Catalyst Ranch. And all I can say is my favourite memory, so many favourite memories of Smarty and Dina, as I do adore both of them, the balloon boutonniere.
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions right off the bat. How have we never met? Because I work for reasons I can't really say, I can't disclose where I actually work, but I will say it's a venue in Chicago, and I can't believe we have never crossed paths, which we have to change. And Catalyst Ranch gives me a headache. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Catalyst Ranch is like, you either really love it or it's not for you. Like, there's nobody who's like, it was okay. Like, you either really are, it's perfect, or you're like, no, this isn't like what I want for my wedding or event at all. So that is either or.
Well,
obviously, thought it was great, but some people are like, no, this isn't. They have a quick showing. Like, no, this isn't.
Naomi, you can edit this out or bleep it.
We just referred each other business. We never did events together.
Don't forget, I will intersect this. We briefly intersected it because we were both members of some, like, points type business to business brand. And, like, we did things for other businesses, and then we got points for that, and then we could use those points for other businesses, and you were a member of it.
It's not like Amway, Christy, no.
No, it was like some kind of, like, business-to-business referral program where, like, you
it was the trade, barter.
Yeah, it was like a barter, and it was just, like, I felt like that's how I know you, because, like, we had a million points because we were always doing stuff for other people, and we had no way of spending it. So you would make these delicious cupcakes, and I remember we would get the cupcakes from you on points, and then we would, like, gift cupcakes to other people, and they'd be so excited that we bought them these, like, fancy cupcakes. And I was like, we bought them on points, and Dina was always like, shut up, we bought them, that's all they need to know. But
yeah,
I think we started becoming, like, more acquainted with each other, for sure.
That's like saying you regifted a gift.
You regifted my cupcakes?
Obviously, well, yeah, I love your cupcakes, but, like...
You regifted them.
I had, like, 400,000 points. Like, how many cupcakes could I eat? You know what I mean? Like, so... And it made, like, it was made for, like, a really nice gift because I would give them these fancy cupcakes, and people would be, like, very impressed, and they'd take a bite, and they'd be like, these are good. You know, like, they were very happy to get the cupcakes. So it all worked out for everybody.
But this was a long time ago. I mean, Mikey's turning 13.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but this is what I remember.
But we've had a relationship.
Well, you said he did Mikey's 5th birthday, so 8 years ago was that.
He did Mikey's baby shower. He did Mikey's 1st birthday, Mikey's 5th birthday. There were a couple of events that I'd referred Dina and him to. And so it's been a long-lasting relationship.
Does Mikey remember this?
Yes. I mean, my whole family in Australia remember him. He's definitely one of my favourite partners in the event industry, and his wife too. And I'm going, and, you know, I always think about that first date. Now, do you remember it, Smarty?
I do. I definitely do.
Do you remember the trapeze studio for the baby shower?
I do remember the trapeze studio. I remember they were very outright. They're like, don't mess with the trapeze stuff because it's, like, against our insurance. They're like, we don't want anyone, like, getting injured at this thing, so don't mess with the equipment.
Oh, that's right. We weren't allowed on the trapezes at the trapeze studio. But I was pregnant and would have fallen off it, like, and Tubalard. It was in Humboldt Park.
There's an actual trapeze studio,
and it's still in business. Actually,
can you go train there to, like, do the trapeze?
Yeah, it has shows and classes.
Is that Circus Steam?
No, it was a loft or something.
A loft, right? It's funny, but not that. Like, I'm like, which trapeze circus studio was it? There's like 6 of them.
You never would have guessed that.
I get mixed up. You know, no, not that trapeze studio, the other one. I'm like, of course. Okay. That's a true story. Lots of circus people in Chicago.
Wow. Of course, my events are a minuscule amount of the events you've done since you've moved to Chicago. And Chrissy's been so intrigued and dying to ask you this since we brought you on, so go ahead, Doc.
Okay, so Naomi's like, look, you've got to see these videos. And even my husband, who doesn't know anything about the event world, is like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy. He's awesome.
I see him every year on the double
I've seen him around. Everything. My husband that doesn't watch anything except for videos online. So he's seen you somewhere. How? I want to know, like, what made you choose this as a career? Like, I'm so intrigued and fascinated and in wonder.
My secret origin. This is like issue 4 of the Smarty Pants comic. So I'll give you the long story short, the opposite of usually short stories long. I was in college and I went to school for geology, and I worked in a geology lab after graduation as a grad student. And I thought this was like going to be my destiny. And I was so upset because I hated it. It was really terrible. Like, the rocks don't laugh at your jokes. It just was really bad. I just did not want this for my life. I decided right away. So I quit, and I moved back home with my parents. And they were like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I quit the geology lab. They're like, we thought that was your life dream. I'm like, I kind of thought that too. They said, well, if you're going to be home, you need to like get a job. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. They're like, we'll figure it out. So I looked in the newspaper for the job listings, which now is a very old-fashioned sentence, but at the time was like normal. And I saw a job, it says, event planner needs outgoing talent for events. And I was like, well, I'm outgoing talent, I think. And that's why I didn't like the box. It was so quiet. So I called her up, and she says, we need someone to go to birthday parties as a clown, and you have to make 12 balloons. She goes, do you have any experience? And I'm like, shockingly, no. Do a lot of people say yes to that question? Like, he goes, okay, well, we'll teach you. We'll teach you the 12 balloons that you need, and we'll give you the clown costume. I'm like, well, when do I start? Which is, of course, what most people would say, of course. So I learned 12 balloons, and they gave me a clown costume, which is a clown costume that you're probably imagining from cartoons. It looked like a big polka-dotted bag. And I just wore Converse All-Stars, and that was me. I'm a clown now.
Like the old school bozo uniform?
There's like a big bag, with the buttons on it. It was really terrible. So right away, I was like, I'm going to have to wear like my own clothes. Like and the clown clothes smelled like clowns. Like,
ew, wait.
These can't cleaner clothes on me.
What does a clown smell like?
It just smells like someone who's been making a lot of balloons and like just is so tired from making balloons that they're like, I'll do my laundry tomorrow. And then it's never tomorrow. Okay, so is it a trade secret? What were the 12 balloon shapes? Okay, I used to remember this. It was a hat, a cat, a dog, a flower, a sword, a magic wand, a mermaid, a Spider-Man, and Fancy One. And Fancy One was like, you had to learn you just had to learn one fancy balloon. So if someone was like, can you make me something? And you're like, I can't make that, but I could make a SpongeBob. Then you would just make a SpongeBob, and they kind of forgot all about what they asked you to make. So that was it. So I kind of was like, I could do that. I could learn 12 of them. And my fancy one was SpongeBob, believe it or not. In retrospect,
you did that on your first job?
No. First job, I didn't quite have the whole dozen ready. First job, I was like, every animal will look like a dog. If you want a sword, it'll just be green. And if you want a magic wand, it'll look a lot like a sword. And if you want a SpongeBob, then how about his dog instead? No, it took me a little while. Like, they hired me right away. And they're like, you need to learn the dozen at some point, but, work up to it. So that's it. So I started making balloons. And then I was like, I'm kind of a clown, but I don't like wearing the makeup. And people don't really like the makeup. They think it's weird. And I like the balloons, but I think I could probably make more than 12. So I kind of quit the agency that I was working for, and I was like, I could just do this on my own. And that's it. I said, why do I need you guys? I know more than 12 balloons. I think I'm ready. So that was it.
How long have you been doing this for now? You college kid?
So I was living in New York around, let's say, turn of the century, which is another old-fashioned sentence. And I did it for a while. Like, I kind of got out of my parents' house, and I moved to Brooklyn. I did it for Brooklyn for a while, and then I moved to Austin, Texas, for 5 years. And that's where I feel like I was like, okay, I'm doing this Smarty Pants thing. Like, I have no other, fallback. Like, this is it. And I did it there. And then we moved to Chicago in 2006. So if you're strictly Chicago, it'll be 14 years.
Wow.
So I don't think you count. This year doesn't count. This was my sabbatical year, because I didn't do a whole lot this year like most people. So, but 14 years chronologically. I think seriously when I moved to Chicago.
Oh, Smarty, I'm going to go back to those original agents in New York that hired you, because I remember when I'd hire cake decorators, I could see if they had a talent right away. Because there's only one Smarty Pants, but when I had TipsyCake in the heyday when we were doing 30, 40 custom